Microphone check. Microphone check. Yeah. Right. Here. Hi. Definitely. Make sure you like and subscribe this Crown Dion, and definitely, definitely, we got big news. News that we shouldn't be actually news that we shouldn't have had to wait so long for, but nevertheless, we're gonna get it started like I always do. I want to thank God for another day. Thank you. I want to thank the likers. I'm gonna thank the supporters. I want to thank my subscribers. Make sure you definitely like and subscribe. And as always, I'm finna film.
There is something that is very wrong here. We have gone over a cliff in America.
In America, we don't worship government, we worship God. You know, you still need help from the boss.
Sitting here talking with Stubbs, man, about Snap Squad. Status of the country, and it's a sad thing. Preach. It's crazy because this was looked at as
It took a little bit too long to fire this lady.
Godly nation. That's right. The land of the free, the land
Definitely.
Where Martin Luther King had a dream.
Took a little bit too long to do that.
What's going on? Preach. Mothers depending on pantries. Families.
Definitely. Pull up.
The education system that is failing. What's happening? It's a broken environment in America. Broken. It's crazy when even revolutionaries and people in our communities talk about it. What happened? What's going on? As I hit the blunt, I'm like, dang, America, them politicians, they full of stunts.
So as it goes today, I mean, they like to use certain words, but we know, and we saw what happened on Capitol Hill. It was pretty brutal yesterday for Kim Cheeley. Woo! It's pretty brutal. Yeah, I think we're gonna watch a little bit of that because yesterday she had to answer some questions on Capitol Hill, and to be quite honest, let me exit up. To be quite honest, it was an actual Democrat. It was a bipartisan effort, to be honest. Everybody knew that this lady had some questions to answer, and it was no time for her to actually be political. It was no time for her to play any games. So you had Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, whatever you want to call it, even AOC ripped into her. And this lady was on Congress. On the stand, not actually the stand, but this lady was under oath, actually giving her ass to kiss not only to Congress, but to the people, to the nation. And at this point, it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. We got to understand that what we've seen from Kim Cheeley has been ridiculous. I don't care what, who you're voting on. And so yesterday she was on, doing some testimony. And I want you to hear some of this because it got so bad to one of the ladies said, one of the congresswomen ended up basically saying to her, "You're just full of shit." Excuse me. And I thought it was really good that they grilled her. Like I said, AOC grilled her. Jim Jordan was going to grill her. And so it comes down to all of this yesterday and today, as the great Donald Trump would say, you're fired. They can call it a resignation, but we all know what time it is. We all know what time it is. We all know what time it is. Yes, indeed. Let's hear from our girls on our congresswomen on Congress yesterday. Let's hear from some of our people on Congress how they grilled her yesterday. And actually, more than anything, besides the questions, let's listen to her arrogance. Listen to her standoffish attitude as if there was not a former president almost just assassinated. So it's not about Democrat or Republican right now because all of them are ripping into her. Let's check this out. Let's go into this a little bit.
You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest. You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest.
The House Oversight Committee grilling Secret Service Director Kim Cheeley Monday about the assassination attempt on former President Trump at a Pennsylvania rally, specifically how the nearby rooftop where the gunman fired from was not secured.
On July 13th, we failed.
But in her answers, Cheeley had few specifics.
I am here today because I want to answer questions, but I also want to be cautious.
You might want to, but you haven't answered. I don't think you've answered one question.
Cheeley
didn't answer one question. You know, I mean, like, come on, think about it. Here it is, an assassination attempt, and an actual hit. I mean, it may have not been what a lot of people may have wanted, but regardless of how it turned out, Donald Trump was still hit. And so here it is, an assassination attempt. A president of the United States was shot. And this lady comes in front of Congress and in front of taxpayers, in front of America, in front of Americans, and actually answers zero questions to Congress. I remember when people used to say stuff like, man, lying to Congress is an act of, I almost like lying to God. You know, like, really? And this lady actually goes up there and say, kiss my butt.
admit that agents had been warned multiple times about a suspicious person near the rally.
Was anybody in the detail ordered to follow and stay with that suspicious person?
We are trying to verify the timelines of when those notifications were made.
Should she have been more prepared?
Oh, absolutely.
Robert Caltabiano, a retired Secret Service agent here in Texas, says while Cheeley clearly couldn't answer some questions for security reasons, in general, she seemed overwhelmed.
She looks like an embattled director that the walls are coming in pretty quickly.
Cheeley unable to say how many of the Trump campaign's previous requests for extra protection had been denied.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking.
In the past,
I mean, some of this is information people still don't know. You know, how many times did former President Trump have to actually ask for more security and was denied? You know, she's saying he wasn't denied in this particular event. That is what she is saying, but we've learned that they're all liars. So that is still remains to be seen, because we also know that same day, Jill Biden had some event where she had Secret Service. And so did she have the guys that were over 6'4"? Because Trump didn't have the right people. I mean, Trump looked like he had a bunch of people in training. And there are other reports out about that, but I'm not going to get into that because it still seems like hearsay. And so, but definitely we saw Trump with people my height, and that is part of the Secret Service thing. You want people with certain heights because you don't want some guy being able to shoot somebody in the head. So why did Donald Trump have all of the small people, about 4 or 5 women actually? You know, this DEI stuff is crazy. Anyway, let's continue this.
ask for additional personnel for these rallies. It should have, and it should then process along to the other events that the former president would be doing.
One committee member underscoring the fact that Trump narrowly survived.
Because Donald Trump is alive, and thank God he is, you look incompetent. If Donald Trump had been killed, you would have looked culpable.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yes. Absolutely. The buck stops with her.
Some lawmakers slamming Cheadle for not turning over requested information to the committee and for an investigation that could take.
I mean, what is this lady hiding? What is she hiding? I mean, yeah, she stepped down today. Why? She actually probably was fired. We know how that goes. Yeah, they allowed her to step down so she could still take some more of the taxpayers' money. By the way, this lady got a raise. You know, she got in when she came in under the DEI hire. She was given a raise above whatever the other guy was making, just because of the whole DEI situation. But this is what she was hired for, to totally drop the ball, and then after dropping the ball, turn around and tell America to kiss her butt because I'm a DEI hire. I don't have to answer your questions. I don't have to answer your questions because if you question her too hard, the heat comes back on you. Well, I thank God that some people got a little bit of fortitude, and everybody on that panel who's grilling her, no matter whether they're Democrat or Republican, I'm glad they had the love for the nation and the ideal of what the Secret Service and what her job was. I'm glad they had the fortitude to make her to try to hold her feet to the fire enough to where she woke up and said, hey, yes, I think I'll fall up under the pressure that you're putting on me, and I will go ahead and take the taxpayers' money by resigning instead of letting them fire me. Classic Democrats.
Take months.
How many Secret Service personnel have lost their jobs due to this colossal failure? At this time, none.
President Biden needs to fire you.
Do you think Director Cheadle should be fired?
I think she should resign. At this point, it's going to be a detriment to the men and women out there that are working very, very hard. And I think that we need a new, fresh.
Do you think?
At this time, none.
President Biden needs to
for an investigation that could take months.
How many Secret Service personnel have lost their jobs due to this colossal failure? At this time, none.
President Biden needs to fire you.
Zero. It's almost like when Biden said, you never fire anybody, Joe. You know, but finally, somebody has been fired. And, or, you know, depending on which way you want to look at it, she said resign. So I'm going to use the word she used. And it kind of makes sense because by resigning, she gets to continue collecting some sort of money. And I'm assuming that the taxpayers will have something to do with that. And so by resigning, she's giving America another middle finger, just like she gave President Trump last Saturday. Yeah, man. Sad. And so it's like, it's fitting, right? How is it that the president of the United States not drops out, but pushed out, fired from running, fired from the opportunity of doing what he was elected to do because he got like 15 to 18 million votes to actually be the nominee again. And so, but as it stands, Democrats are always talking about democracy, and the same way they muscled it from Bernie Sanders a long time ago, and then they muscled it from every would-be candidate, Democrat candidate, which is why RFK had to go ahead and get into a whole different party just to even run because of the way they muscled it. And now we see they've muscled it from Joe. The same tools you put out. Isn't that ironic? The same energy he put out, it got used against him. And now we're actually seeing it unfold in the process, working again for the benefit of working against the people, against the truth. And, you know, it's crazy. So it really is crazy. we saw that one Congress, is it? I don't know her name. Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace. We saw Nancy Mace really, really give it to her. I want you to hear how she continues to after hearing about the resignation. Let's hear how she looks at it, because either way, Kim Cheeto understood exactly what Nancy Mace is alluding to.
Well, I was simply saying aloud what every American was thinking yesterday, because we watched her run circles. We watched her talk in generalities. We watched her really have a dishonest display of defiance yesterday, and her either inability or, worse yet, unwillingness to answer questions that every American deserved to hear. And last night I was so frustrated by what the hearing showed, her inability to answer our questions. I filed a motion to force a vote on her impeachment. So if the Biden administration wasn't going to fire her, I'll take her resignation. That's the next best thing. But we were willing to force a vote on it, put people's sentiments on the table, and let the American people see what we're made of. People want action. You can still have her. We can still have her subpoenaed, even though she's resigned.
Nice. Yes, she's one of the ones that definitely ripped into her yesterday on the Hill. And hey, when you got Jim Jordan and you got, imagine if Jim Jordan and AOC actually was on the same side. Imagine if AOC actually loved America. And some of the other Democrats that joined in and ripping this lady apart yesterday, I thought it was a good thing. And as you see today, like I said, Donald Trump, the words of Trump, you're fired. You can call it a resignation all you want to, but we know that he was on your way. Anyway, yes. And so now I was talking about the beast of the system. The beast of the system. And we now see, we're trying to see. We're gonna see how it goes. We're not really sure. Nobody's really sure. And so, but now Kamala Harris will have her shot, it looks like. And so, hey, I'm wondering, is this gonna turn to a campaign of Joe Biden? Look at the irony here. Something that just came to me. I just thought about. Thank you, Lord. But it's so funny to me. It is so funny, especially my people, when the media and some of our people like the Al Sharptons, the Roland Martins, the Jesse Jacksons are paid. Even this lady, the Joy Reids and the Whoopies, all of the people that don't really like black people, some of them that don't even have black mates. And these people are actually paid to keep us. They're advertised, they're pushed, they keep their jobs because they're talking to a certain audience. And it is so crazy that none of these people will call out the agenda as it is. None of them will call out. They've not once called out the border czar. As you can see, they were very silent about what Kim Cheeto should have did. Instead, they were still blaming everything on Trump, questioning everything on Trump. It is ridiculous, and I don't know at what point our people are gonna say enough is enough. I'm gonna actually at least hear the other side without letting skin be a factor, because they use that skin against us every time, and they get us involved. They get our emotions so caught up in it every time, and they use our emotions against us. And none of that stuff, none of it. I know I haven't seen Kamala a lot. I haven't, because every time I see her, she's laughing about something. So I don't want to see her. But I can honestly say, I believe CNN would have played it 1,000 times if it would have happened, or ABC, or any of those news that people consider fake news. I have not seen Kamala even mention anything. She's almost just the female Obama. They are totally distancing themselves from the word black. I haven't seen Kamala talk about black at all, but yet and still we hear something about 40,000 black women, doing something last night, or some type of support, some type of thing that went from 8,000 to 40,000 simply because it's Kamala Harris, somebody who don't even like you. One thing we don't need, and I'm not knocking women. I mean, give me Tulsi Gabbard all day. I mean, if we got to have a woman, I mean, give us a woman that can at least tell us what a woman is. How are women sitting by standing for people? I mean, it's kind of different. It's kind of different when men. It's not really. It's sad all together. All together, it is sad. It's shameful. So please don't take my words and run away with it. Please press like and subscribe whenever you come by. But I understand it a little bit more. If somebody tell me I had to make a choice of understanding something like the great debaters. So if you're in a debate school and you had to take one or the other, you had to argue which one would suit, which one you would say you would understand first, or you rather understand, even though that's not a debate. All right, so I would understand it first, even though it's not cool, it's a disgrace. But if I had to choose one of the two, if a man was sitting by, even though we are the ones that are having babies as well, but it's different when a man says, whatever, I don't care if this woman is going to disgrace herself and say that she's equal to a man. That's totally on her. I don't care. I'm heterosexual either way, so I just see it different, and I think it's sad on either way. And I think real men are gonna stay in the in the they're gonna look at it one way whether they're heterosexual or not. Real men are gonna say, hey, well, I do have a mother, and so they're not gonna it's just. But if it had to be crossed, I would understand it first when it is a man doing it, rather than seeing women who identify, who are women who have the same hormones as women who have the same cycle, women who have had babies, women who, men cannot identify to all of the things that a woman can identify to. And when I say that, I mean overall life. But when you're talking about some of the things that makes a woman, men can't identify to that. So I think it's harder. I think it's more disgraceful to see women who are saying to themselves and saying to the world and saying to our American civilians, saying to our children, whether black or white or any other culture, that I, as a woman, cannot truly identify what a woman is. And as a woman, I can truly stand here and say a man can truly, fully, wholly be me. Those women are a lot worse than the men that have that same mental lapse around that issue. And so I don't understand what the hype is around this Kamala Harris stuff for our women, but it does not surprise me. It does not surprise me. And it is so disappointing. And I know a black woman could look at me and say, hey, well, you don't look like you get paid over such and such amount of money, so you're disappointing. Hey, I get it. But I'm saying I think it is very disappointing without actually individualizing anything when we see women lining up or men ready to vote on somebody just because they know how to identify with you as black. They'll talk like the reverend when they need to, but you won't check their history. And when you do, that history can definitely be something that you're caught, that you're on record saying, I hate these racist laws. Oh, all of these people that lock up blacks this way. Oh, all of these different laws and statutes that you're on record saying you hate and you can't stand, and it's part of the system. And then you check it and see that some of the people you support are the main people doing it, and then you act like you didn't have that same stance. And then you act like you did not have that stance that you had before. All of a sudden it's cool because they're Democrats. That is lunacy. Border czar. The border czar. We're talking about somebody who was labeled a border czar and embraced a border czar because Joe Biden didn't. Come on, man. Do we need to watch reels and reels and reels and segments and segments and segments of the news ripping Kamala because she was horrible? And that ain't just Fox News. It's not just Newsmax. It's fake news as well. Especially when it looked like Joe Biden was ready to start getting a little weak in the knees. Especially when it looked like the money was gonna switch and look for somebody like Gavin Newsom. All of those fake news people who've been upholding Joe Biden and upholding those people for 3 years turned on them like you're turning over hot grits. And they told you just how they really felt about Kamala. All you got to do is look before she was elected or selected as Joe Biden passed her the torch. Look what the media was just saying about her 3 days ago. And I don't mean Fox News. They was letting you know that we need Gavin or Gretchen or anybody else besides Kamala. Yeah, man. It's crazy. It is crazy how fast we forget.
A new CNN SSRS poll finds that less than a third of voters would prefer President Biden over former President Donald Trump to handle the issue of immigration. As migrant crime is surging across this country, 4 illegal Venezuelan migrants appearing in court today for a status detention hearing.
By the way, I know they're talking about Joe Biden and they're highlighting him, but I'm playing this because remember who the border czar is. Remember, the border czar never actually went to the border. She went on a organized border visit, so-called, but it was to El Paso, which is not the border. She did not once to this day go to the border. If she can do that, if she can get away with doing that as a border czar, and even laughed at the thought of going to the border, laughed at it twice on record. That's just what I saw. Yeah, she's despicable. Anyway.
Out in Chicago, they are facing attempted murder charges after video shows the group allegedly attacking and robbing a 49-year-old man on a train back in February. You can see one suspect putting the man in a chokehold, initially leaving that victim unconscious. Meanwhile, a Haitian migrant charged with the rape of a 15-year-old girl in Massachusetts in a hotel released on $500 bail last week. Massachusetts in a hotel released on $500 bail last week. I want to bring in National Border Patrol Council by released on $500 bail last week. Haitian migrant charged with the rape of a 15-year-old girl in Massachusetts in a hotel released on $500 bail last week.
I hope some of the women that really ran down there to sign up just because it was Kamala, I hope they remember and hear these stories. And believe me, we're not hearing all of them. We're hearing the bits that trickle down through the media that chooses to cover it. And most of the time, sadly to say, we hear more through social media than we do actually hear through the news. 15 years old, and he got out on $500 bail. But according to the Democrats, it's amazing that he had to pay any bail at all. That is sad. That is, I can't wait. I just want to play that one more time. I want to hear.
Charged with the rape of a 15-year-old girl in Massachusetts in a hotel, released on $500 bail last week. I want to bring in National.
And so just for my women that thinks that my sisters and my, the women that thinks that this is isolated to these border countries or border states in the South. I just want to remind you that that was Massachusetts.
Low battery.
It's
Please
bad.
charge.
I don't even know where that came from. Yeah, not good. Okay.
Border Patrol Council Vice President Art Del Cueto. Art, of course, if we secured the border, stopped the flow of illegal immigration, we would have less crime to report. It seems that things are only getting worse. Why are we still seeing so many of these criminals, and I'm thinking of the criminal from Ecuador, still able to get into this country?
Well, a lot of it is because at the same time that you're seeing big groups that come across, they ask for asylum, they get released in the United States, you have the gotaways. You have a lot of these gotaways because agents are too busy in the processing centers. That's part of the problem. And you know what? I've said it many times before. The drug cartels, the smuggling organizations, they control what comes across the border. And they're very much aware that if they do flood one area with large groups, they know that's going to add that distraction that allows them to have those gaps in the border where they continue to bring in groups into the United States, the gotaways. And the scary part is it's so easy to come across, ask for asylum, and get released. It's just these individuals that are the gotaways, they're the ones that have serious criminal backgrounds. And looking at the percentages, that 28% that thinks that the current administration can handle this, they're either living under a rock or it is part of the group of the criminals that want to continue bringing illegals and continue to bring crime into the United States right now.
I want to ask you about this because I had Congressman Andy Barr on earlier this week, and he was talking about what he had just seen at the border on his trip and what he thinks needs to happen right now. Watch.
They need the wall. They need infrastructure. There's some technology there. They don't have enough Border Patrol agents because the Biden administration is reprogramming literally $1 billion that Congress has appropriated. They're reprogramming away from recruiting new agents. But what they told me they need the most is infrastructure, a physical barrier that allows them time to actually apprehend these individuals. There's 70 miles of steel bollards of barrier that is on private property being stored. This was wall material.
By the way, that is wall that Trump built. Wall that Trump built, or not Trump, but was built up under the Trump administration. And as soon as Biden got in, instead of him continuing, we wouldn't see what we're seeing today if it wasn't for Biden trying to thumb or middle finger to Trump and taking all of the wall that taxpayers had paid for and storing it, throwing it away, actually selling some of it for a nickel on the dollar. And it's crazy. So some of the solution has been sitting here all of this time. I think what he just said, 70 miles. That's a lot of wall. It's a lot, especially when it can be put in different parts where it is needed.
Material that was acquired during the Trump administration that the Biden administration refused to erect.
What do you make of his comments, and how fast could that happen?
Look, I mean, it happened pretty fast under the last administration. They were working on it right away. Look, infrastructure is very important, but you're going to need policies, and I think the policies is a big deal because the policies doesn't cost the taxpayer that much money. Look, under the last administration, just by not releasing people, that lowers the numbers. You need those policies mixed in with the proper infrastructure, with the right equipment to stop this. And one of those big policies is detaining people and not releasing them. And they'll realize that. The cartels know, the word is out. Hey, when you come across, ask for asylum, you get released. Well, on the other flip side, the word will be out. It's not that easy. If you come across, they're going to detain you. They're going to make you prove your case before they release you. And you look, it's going to be a lot of work, I'll be honest, because there's millions that this administration has already allowed in, and there has to be a plan to find out where those individuals are and give them their day in court, obviously, but you have to detain them and stop releasing individuals. And that is one of the big major issues.
Stop processing and start detaining. Tricia McLaughlin's got a question for you. Tricia, go ahead.
Art, I have to ask, I got to bring politics back into this. We've been talking a lot about the Democrat nominee. And of course, now there's buzz about the Vice President, Kamala Harris. From your experience, and I think what you're hearing on the ground, do people feel like Kamala Harris is going to handle the border any differently than Joe Biden? Who would you prefer?
Look, she's been the border czar, and she's been non-existent on the border. So that alone is what tells the whole story. At the end of the day, you need somebody that really has shown, cares about our nation's borders, and can do the job. And you got to admit.
I want to bring up another issue here about the border. The U.S. has just agreed to cover the cost for flights to help Panama deport illegal migrants that are crossing the Darien Gap as they're trying to obviously move north to the U.S.
That's just what we need, right? Look at the border czar. Paying for something else. Now we got Ukraine. We're funding everything there, funding everything with Palestine and Israel. And now look at this. Wow.
Under this deal, the U.S. will offer up equipment, logistics, charter flights, commercial plane tickets to send illegal migrants back to their home countries. The program entirely under Panama's control. U.S. has no say on who they deport. I had Senator Tommy Tuberville on with me earlier this week. He was talking about the issue of the Darien Gap, and he was in Panama. Watch this.
Right. I'm right now sitting in Panama City, Panama.
I don't even know what to make of that. What is that about? What? So we're going to pay for something. Man, this is crazy. It's crazy. That is crazy. I don't even understand. I can't even begin to understand that. Like, we're paying for something that we're not even in control of, and somebody else has the right to determine who they're gonna. Whoa. We just keep putting ourselves as a nation, like our leaders keep putting us in predicaments that it's hard to back out of. I mean, like, it's lose, lose, lose. It's not win, 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 win. What the hell? Wow.
Low battery. Please charge.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. I'm glad Kim Cheeley was fired or stepped down, whatever you want to call it. I'm glad she out of there. I think if Joe Biden can get pushed out, I find it's crazy. It is crazy how long it took and for this lady to be pushed out or whatever happened. It remains really to be seen, but that is crazy. Let's look at how Tulsi. Let's look at how Tulsi Gabbard. The last time we know as Tulsi, she was the Democratic nominee as well, and everybody was kicking Kamala's butt. Kamala was like last. Nobody even wanted to think of her as the Democratic president. I won't say nobody because she did have about 6%. So I won't say nobody. She had about 6%. The one good night she did have is the night when she exposed Joe Biden for being the racist guy and having a very, very racist history with friends and people he supported from a Klansman organization. People who were part of the Klansmen's organization, Senator Robert Byrd, and she really blasted him. And that was the only night she did good. After that, everybody gave Kamala Harris boots to her face, actually, to be honest, just to put it bluntly.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so.
As always, Black people, we get so caught up and we don't understand and realize how many puppets are we looking at around the country that are Black and that are doing exactly the type of things she's doing. She didn't resist. She didn't respond. I saw the whole thing. And it's like these things are verified. You know, the state had to make her give forward evidence that she held on and hid and almost cost a man his life. I wonder what color was that man. I almost guarantee that man was black. I can almost guarantee these weed smokers she was locking up as she was smoking weed was black. I almost guarantee it, even though I can't guarantee it, but we should look that up. We should look that up.
She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use.
Mic drop after mic drop after mic drop. I wonder what color was those people. I wonder what color were the guys that she was keeping or girls that she was locking up beyond their sentence just to save the state some money for slave labor. That's what it is. Slave labor. But they'll turn around and try to preach to us everything that the white man is going to do to us. Everything that the white man is going to do. And when you look around this country right now, it is the black people that are being used to do it. And most of the time, it is being done against black people. Look at the judge in Atlanta that just got fired. Or, as the great Kim Chidell would understand, if I resign, I can just step down and make it look like I wasn't pushed aside. But anyway, either way, he had to step down off that case. But look at this man. He's a black man. They were trying to railroad Young Thug, and I don't know what Young Thug did. But what I'm saying is all of the rules that man broke to the point where the Supreme Court of Georgia had to tell him, bye-bye. You broke too many rules, and they broke them to convict another black man. That's what these politicians are doing. They're getting black people in because black people are voting for other black people just because they're black. They're not listening to their policies. They're not listening at the people they support. They're not watching the people that supported them or funding them. And when they get in, they're doing the bootlicking jobs of the agenda. And most of the time, other black people are the ones are being victimized.
Use them as cheap labor for the state of California, and she fought to keep cash bail sentences to use them as cheap. An innocent man from when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way. Line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology. She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed.
I agree with her. I'm with Tosi. I'm with Tosi. Yes. Yes, man. This lady is something else.
After headlines saying, well, what is Kamala Harris's foreign policy going to be? And then you are reminded, I'm more interested, Laura, in what the American people are thinking. You know, I've been seeing headline after headline saying, well, what is Kamala Harris's foreign policy going to be? And then you are reminded by these examples of how inexperienced and lacking of knowledge and strength that she is. So to answer that question, what kind of commander-in-chief will she be? What kind of foreign policy will she have? We simply need to look at the facts of what we've seen under the Biden-Harris administration. They are not running our foreign policy. Our foreign policy decisions are being made by unelected people in the military-industrial complex who are profiting from us being in a constant state of war, and the national security state that has more power to undermine our freedoms and liberties when we are in a state of war. Kamala Harris does not have the strength to stand.
By the way, Tulsi Gabbard, another woman of color who they don't. It's funny how they take the people of color they want to take. Kamala is no blacker than Tulsi Gabbard. I just want to say that. Just want to say that Kamala Harris is no blacker than Tulsi Gabbard. But for some reason, because she don't mind getting in front of the camera saying y'all, I smoke weed at the same time locking up everybody else that smoke weed. So she gets a little bit more Sister Act credit. She gets to pass like Sunny Hostin on The View. She gets to pass. You know, that's all they got to do is know how to talk. Whoopi Goldbergs. But them people ain't no blacker than Tulsi. And in regards to skin and actual culture, Kamala is no blacker than Tulsi. Period. And I said that because they found their way of pushing Tulsi out. They only want puppets. They only want puppets. Those are the people that we see seceding without that friction. They want to lead Donald Trump to the slaughter, like a sheep. You know, and then they're actually upset with him because he's not going without kicking. These people are crazy.
Stand up to the military-industrial complex, the national security state. So she's going to continue being a figurehead just like Joe Biden has been. And this is, Laura, this is where the clear choice is in this election. Donald Trump is strong. As commander-in-chief, he will take charge. He will stand up to the military-industrial complex and national security state. He will prevent us from getting into unnecessary wars and make decisions that actually serve the best interests of the American people and our own security.
Well, we keep hearing about how great Kamala is, how historic she is, but then we ask people on the street about it, Tulsi. Watch.
What would you say she has accomplished as vice president?
Not a lot. Not a lot, to be quite honest with you. If somebody knows, they could tell me, because I don't know.
I actually don't know. I'm just going to put that there. I have no idea.
What has she accomplished? Absolutely nothing.
Well, look, I mean, she has some fans out there. I mean, a lot of
I mean, that's really the gist of it. She hasn't accomplished much. And to be honest, I don't even think she wants to accomplish much. I'm out of here. Just really wanted to highlight the fact that for a lot of people that probably work hours and they won't see this now or they can't see the news, wanted to highlight the fact that definitely Kim Cheadle, Joe Biden was pushed out, fired, so to speak, from the next campaign, and definitely a few days too late, actually a week and some days too late. Kim Cheadle is now, in my opinion, fired, but she resigned, so to speak, so she can continue getting some of our taxpayers' money, I guess. But anyway, she's out of there like she should have been. And based on the way she gave Congress her butt to kiss yesterday, good riddance. And hopefully nobody will never, ever hire her again. But we know Democrats, as far as we know, she'll be on ABC News as an analyst, or maybe, NBC, or maybe up there with that crazy looking guy, the Morning Joe, that crew. Anyway, I'm out of here. Like and subscribe. Please, that way you know anytime I'm going live. I just did this just to highlight that. And then we also wanted to touch a little bit of basis on how so many of our sisters seem to go crazy over the fact that this lady who don't even identify as black and don't even like you has so many of you going crazy simply because she's a woman and she's black. It can't be because she's a woman, because she can't identify a woman. So what are you so hyped up about? Please let me know in the comments on YouTube. Until then, go with God. God is good. Another day, another little bit of knowledge. Nothing wrong with that, man.